Hello and welcome. This is a new lecture in your course Linux for Absolute Beginners by Aryonics. My name is Ahmed, and in this section we are discussing Linux command line. In the previous lecture we have seen how we can launch programs like Firefox browser from the command line in a GUI environment. Let's have a look at it again. I can type Firefox like this, and as we learned in the previous section, because Firefox is in one of the directories that are in my path variable, I don't need to enter its full path. I can just type Firefox and press enter, and the Firefox browser will immediately appear in front of me. Okay, now let's move back. While still running the Firefox, let's move back to the kernel. As you can see here, I don't have a prompt. I'll just have this screen and this cursor blinking. If I try to type ls, for example, it will work. pwd will work. cd ... the parent directory, it won't work either. Why? Because this browser is working in the foreground. This application, or this process in a more technical term, is working in my foreground. The terminal is busy serving my application. So let's close it. And once I do, I am back on my terminal, and guess what? It has executed all the commands that I have typed while in my Firefox session. It has cached it and then executed it once it regained back control. But how can I have this control while running Firefox? Let's run it again. Okay, one of the options is to press Ctrl Z or Ctrl Z like this. And this will put the program that is running in the foreground, or that is actively using the terminal, that is the terminal busy serving, will put it in the sleeping mode or the stop mode. As you can see here, now Firefox is stopped, as you can see. And if I try to go here, as you can see, the screen is dimmed. I cannot use Firefox by any means. I cannot open a new tab or type in any search terms here or access even the page that is displayed. It is completely frozen. That is because it is in the stopped mode. Now I can type in whatever commands I want, like ls, for example. I can cd to any directory I want to. I can use the terminal however I want, and when I'm finished, I can type fg like this, and fg will make Firefox get back to the foreground, and I can use it the way I want, like this. Okay, if I go back to the terminal, it is using the terminal again, and I have to type Ctrl Z in order to get back to my terminal. Okay, but actually there is a better option. I can even start Firefox in the background from the start. So I can type Firefox like this and type in the ampersand or the and sign at the end of the command, followed by a space. If I do this, let's see what happens. The Firefox window has opened as expected. However, I do have control over my terminal. I can do whatever I want, like this, or this. Okay, and I'm still having Firefox window open here, and it is not dimmed, it is not frozen, as you can see here. I can use any commands that I want, go to any website that I want, without having to close the terminal, without having to close the process on the terminal. It is working, and it's also sending me information like this. However, I have access to the terminal the way I want to. Okay, now let's talk about the bash shell. We have talked before about shells in a previous lecture, and we have mentioned that the shell is the program or the interface that the user uses to access the system. And we said that Ubuntu has a number of interfaces, GUI interfaces and text mode interfaces. But in the text mode interface, there is also several types of shells, several types of text mode shells. The bash shell is one of the most common ones. Now, before we start discussing bash, the GUI is a shell in itself. However, and as we said, when you go to the terminal application here and open this window, you are using here the bash shell. So it is considered a shell inside the shell. Okay, don't get confused. This is the shell of the system. This is the GUI. This is the commands, the menus, and the buttons that you can use to access the system. So this is the system shell. But since you want to use the command line, you will open the terminal that will give you a command line which is a shell inside the main shell. If you want to use the bash shell natively, or the shell natively, you will have just to go to one of the text modes or environments of Ubuntu, and once you log in, this is the only shell that they can use. This is not a GUI, this is just the bash shell, or the shell, whatever shell you are using. You are inside the system using the shell. But here, this is the shell, and this is just a program that gives you a window by which you can access the command line shell. So don't get confused by trying to think that this is bash. No, this is not bash. This may be called GNOME or Plasma or KDE or whatever, but bash is the text mode shell of the system, and this window is just giving you access to this text mode. Okay, now let's start discussing bash. Bash stands for Born Again Shell. It is the GNU alternative to the Bourne shell, which is the default shell in most Unix installations. Now, if you remember from a previous section, we have said that the GNU initiative was created or developed in order to give the Linux its necessary programs to operate. And as we said, the GNU project aimed at providing open source alternatives to the proprietary Unix programs and tools. And of course, the most important of which is the shell itself. The shell in Unix used to be called the Bourne shell. This was the most common and sometimes the only shell used on the system. It is called the Bourne shell, and it was referenced as SH. So the Born Again shell was developed in order to be the counterpart or the alternative to the Bourne shell, and actually it provides many more features that are much more powerful than those found in the original Bourne shell. Nowadays, even Unix installations use bash as their default shell. But actually, bash is not the only shell used in Linux. There are a lot of other shells, like KSH, which is the Korn shell, or ZSH, among others. Let's have a brief look at some of the features that bash provides. First of all, command completion. I guess you have seen me several times use this tool or this feature in bash, which is command completion. Now, when you type a few words on the system, like for example, I want to type password, and password is the command that is used to change the user's current password. I'll just type PASS and just press tab, and once I press tab, I have bash completed the word for me. Instead of typing password like this, PASSWD, I just typed the first few words, PASS, and then pressing a single tap have completed the word for me. It has automatically typed the W and the D. But that's not everything. What if I type PAS only? If I press tab, it will give me nothing because there is more than one program or more than one file that starts with PAS. So pressing tab twice, like this, will give you all the commands that start with PAS, like paste and PA suspender. Okay, so if you find yourself forgetting the spelling of a command, for example, or of course for an easier typing or a faster typing, just use the tab whenever you work. So a command like pgrep, for example, can be typed like this, just pg, will give, and double tab will give you all the commands that start with pg, and then if you type r, because there is only one program that starts with pgr, which is pgrep, it will just complete it for you. Now let's say pgm slice. Okay, pressing a tab will complete the program, so you get the point. And tab does not work only with commands, but it also works with files. So for example, let's have a look at the current directory here. Okay, let's go to Google Chrome, and let's say I want to view one of those files, like product_logo_64.png. I want to, for example, I want to copy this file to another location, so I will type cp and then pro product. As you can see here, it completed the file name for me until the first location where there will be multiple files having the same name. So here I have product_logo in several files. So it has given me the common set of characters, which is product_logo_, and then it is asking me to enter either double tap in order to see all the available options, and here are all the available files that start with product_logo_, or I can enter few more characters in order to give the system an idea about which file I am requiring. So I can type, for example, 2, but also there are more than one file that has the number 2 as after product_logo_. I have 22, 24, and 256. So if I type 5, Now I have only one file that has these characteristics, starts with product underscore logo underscore 2 and 5, which is 256.png. Now I can use the cp command in order to copy this file to OPT, for example. Okay, and it has been copied. Let's have a look at OPT, and here is my file. So auto-completion is one of the most powerful features in Bash, but that's not everything. Bash also provides you with a history functionality. History simply refers to the commands that you have typed. Now, I have typed a lot of commands through this session, and typing again these commands when I want to use them again is simply inefficient. There must be a way where I can make the system return the command that I have just typed in and execute it again. And fortunately, this is possible using the up arrow and the down arrows. When I press the up arrow like this, I will have the last command that I have entered to the system returned. Pressing the up arrow again will return the next most recent command, another one, the third one, and so on. I can continue pressing the up arrow key until I reach the limit of history, and the down key will get me the other way. So this is upwards, this is downwards, as you can see. I can also type history, the command history, to give me all the commands that I have typed in my session. Okay, and these are a lot of commands. I can limit them by typing a number. So if I type history 5, for example, I will have the last 5 commands typed in the system, like this in the shell. Okay, and Bash has a lot of shortcut programs that will make your life easier while working along lines. So for example, let's go again to the location where we were, and let's say you want to copy again this file, okay, to, let's say, /temp. Okay, now imagine that I have made a mistake and I don't want to copy this file, I want to move it. So I can either press on the left arrow like this until I reach the start of the command and I change it to be MV, for example, or I can press Ctrl A, and Ctrl A will just act as the home button. If you have the home button on your keyboard, you can use it. If you don't, for some reason or another, you can use Ctrl A, and Ctrl A will make the cursor move to the first character of the line, of the current line. And the opposite of this command is Ctrl E, and Ctrl E will make the cursor move to the end of the current line. And if you, of course, have the end button on your keyboard, you can use it, and it will achieve the same functionality. Another important keyboard shortcut in Bash is Ctrl R. This is very important, and it is very widely used. It will search through your history for a command. So let's say, for example, I want to search for ls. As you can see here, I used ls-l several times, but perhaps this is not the command that I want to. Perhaps I used ls again, but not with that option. I will press Ctrl R again, and it will give me the second next search results again and again and again until all the commands are inside history with ls are finished. We also have an important shortcut key. Let's say, for example, I type echo like this, and as you can see here, the echo is mistyped. I have to enter the C before the H, but I mistyped it, and instead of pressing backspace a couple of times and then rewriting C and H in their correct order, I can step on the C like this and type Ctrl T. And Ctrl T will just swap those two characters together. It will get the character that was under the cursor in place of the character to the left, and it will move the character that was on the left right under the cursor. It will just swap those two characters together. So this is a correct form. If I want to swap them again, I can swap them like this. Okay, you see what's happening? It's swapping the characters together, the one under the cursor and the one to the left of it. And in the next lecture, we are going to start discussing how to get help in your command line. So see you next.